All right, we are recording. We've got David Hedges here. David, thank you. Thank you for joining us from outside the Leadville Library. Appreciate you, man.
No problem.
I'm guessing you've spent a fair amount of time in the Leadville area this summer.
Yeah, well, Leadville and Buena Vista. Now I'm actually just camping over above Vail Pass.
Oh, nice. Okay. Are you camping all summer or what's happening?
Yeah, all summer. I'm now training for UTMB, so
Ah,
I figured I'd lean into the altitude a little now that I've got it.
yeah.
And just have fun. Yeah.
Well, Nolan's 14 is great training for UTMB, right?
I mean, I wish UTMB was slower. Let's just say
Sure.
that.
Yeah. Well, you most recently set the FKT, and I'd love to hear the details because I don't know the details on Nolan's 14. Was it supported? Was it unsupported? And I don't even think I've heard the official time.
So the official time is 39 hours, 6 minutes, and
Wow.
40 seconds.
Holy crap. Supported, unsupported?
Supported. Yes, supported.
Okay, got it. Well, that's just an incredible time. And obviously you took down Joey Camp's time, and I've had him on the podcast before, and he's just an incredible athlete. And you know, I'm not going to lie. I thought that number was going to stand for a little while. So hats off to you. Congrats. When was the first time you ever heard of Nolans? How did this come into your periphery?
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all. No, I heard about Nolan's like a long like 10 years ago, probably. Just reading Anton's blog. I grew up in in downtown Chicago, and just like had the I don't know how you'd say, but wanderlust, I guess, and just was like really into all things outdoors adventure from afar, because there's not much opportunity in the Chicago area.
Sure.
And pretty soon I like landed on like trail running as being the coolest adventure modality. And Anton was definitely a huge inspiration. So, but when I first, started, getting into trail stuff in high school, I was reading his blog, and he was either that year or the year before, or, recently was projecting Nolans himself. So that's how I heard about it. And I thought that would be like the pinnacle, trail experience, not having really any reference for what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Had you done any 14ers up to that point? Had you been to Colorado?
No, absolutely not. I done, I wasn't like completely naive to I'd done some backpacking and stuff like that. But I'm definitely a city kid.
Sure. Yeah.
But I went to I ended up going to Colorado College in 2016 and spent my first summer out here. Like I graduated high school, and like the very next day drove out to Colorado. Actually, I had a job over in Avon near Vail.
Yeah.
And so I did actually start running some of the 14ers on the Nolans just that summer.
Yeah. 2016, is that what you said?
Yeah, 2016.
Okay. Were you running in high school, and did you run collegiately?
I ran just for myself in high school. It was just, it's kind of a long story. Well, I grew up playing violin really seriously, like classical. And that's like, it was very rigorous, and I had all sorts of extracurriculars and went to like a really intense school and all that stuff. And sort of like at some point in high school, I just got so burnt out by I felt so cooped up that I ended up running. Well, I first started biking to and from school as like an outlet. And then I started running it, and I went to school on the completely other side of the city. So eventually the running got pretty extensive.
Sure.
I would take the train and bus if I needed to, or if I
Like,
was injured or what.
how far are we talking about?
13 miles each way.
13 each way. And this is high
Yeah, it was
school.
kind of a problem. It was a problem. Yeah. I mean, at first I would get a ride to school. I have a twin sister, and then I would run from school home or to whatever I needed or I was supposed to go. And then eventually I did both ways, and it was yeah, I was running a lot. And I competed a bit. I ran some races when I was 16, 17 and won my first 50 miler and 50K. And I don't know, it was kind of like, yeah, I did some college tours and just didn't go to any of the college tours and just ran on, because, compared to Chicago, like almost anywhere has, like, at the time, to my eyes, like just incredible trails.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm
I
from the
just
Midwest
couldn't get
too.
enough. Yeah.
I'm from the Midwest too. I'm from Wisconsin, about an hour and a half away from Chicago. Yeah, I'm familiar with, I ran in Chicago. I ran the, what is it? The Chicago Lakefront 50K, I think. And I've done a couple of races down there. So super familiar, and also familiar with the Wanderlust and just wanting to get out to Colorado. So I'm curious.
Well, I'm familiar with those, with that Kettle Moraine area, Southern
For
Kettle
sure.
Moraine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you run that race?
I ran the North Face version. It was
Yep.
a bad idea. It was like the week after the Chicago Marathon, which I did for charity, and like I was completely burnt out and injured. But I did do a training camp in Kettle Moraine once, and for like almost 2 weeks in high school in May or June, and it was like no one else was there, and it was totally rainy, and I peaked a 175-mile week out there.
Oh my God. Have you always been a big mileage guy? I mean, it sounds like in high school, if you're banging out 26 miles a day, that's going to lead to some pretty big miles.
It was, I mean, I wasn't always as consistent. But definitely, yeah, I mean, and again, like, it wasn't from a healthy or like optimal training perspective. There's definitely some demons I was chasing or being chased by, especially then, and through college too. But yeah, big miles, and I don't know. I mean, in a way, the way I saw it at the time was like, okay, I've been playing violin, 3 hours a day, still practicing like at least one or two. All my friends are doing like tons of extracurricular. Like, it's so running 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours a day is like, well, if that's going to be your thing, like, what's the big deal?
Sure.
I never really thought it was crazy until, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, until just Strava, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned demons. I don't know if would you care to explore? I mean, I'm just imagining you in high school being, running big miles, which isn't typical of someone in high school. What was going on in your life?
Various things, I guess. But I guess I'd say the biggest is just, like, I think I mentioned, just feeling like really cooped up. I just, between, playing violin, piano, orchestra, Hebrew school, school all day, I would go to school, when the sun came in, especially in the winter, when the sun come up, or, basically there was no daylight. I wouldn't be able to get out during the day. And I just felt like really upset about that, I guess. And so, and also just like really, I didn't like the competition, the competitiveness of high school, because it was like this prep school that, associated with the University of Chicago. So everyone was just completely obsessed with schools and grades and that sort of thing. And so I guess running was like my own thing. Like, I remember running on the lakefront path there, completely iced over in micro spikes, with the, huge like frozen waves on the lake, and the city's all dark at 4:30. No one else is out there, and I just felt like so free, you know, because like, yeah, you're in the middle of the city, but you feel like totally almost in the wild.
Yeah, that's a very freeing feeling, and I get that. I totally understand that. So how long have you been in Colorado now? You mentioned going to school in Colorado Springs, I think.
Yeah, Colorado Springs. So I was there I graduated in 2020 and spent that summer in Idaho. I basically have bounced around since undergrad for various like job internship type things, and then I went to grad school at Cornell for from 2020 to 2022, and I actually then took yeah, it's embarrassing to say, but I took a full extra year to write my master's thesis because I got way too into it, and like it ended up being a giant project that I just needed that extra time for. And luckily they were able to give it, you know, they were able to give it to me without paying tuition. So and it was actually about mountain towns and how the housing crisis kind of fits into other problems of inequality and environmental sort of exclusion. And so it was a good excuse to kind of dirtbag around and
For sure.
Just experience what it's like, you know, in the underbelly of these like super fancy, I call them like the worst best places in the world. Yeah, but that's another subject, I guess.
Yeah, no. I mean, would Leadville fall into that category?
No, Leadville, yeah, and again, it's well, it's, you know, there's gray areas for all these places, but like how they operate. But Leadville would not. Leadville was a working town, and there's no ski resort, and there's, you know, housing's going kind of crazy now, relatively speaking, since all the front rangers want to get investment properties or vacation properties since COVID. But you know, the long simmering ones are Aspen, Jackson, Mammoth, Tahoe, Ketchum, North Conway in some ways. Yeah.
Yep. Got it. How long have you, it sounds like you're out camping right now and embracing the dirt bag lifestyle. I'm a fan as well. I've spent a lot of time camping in Leadville, BV, living in my truck out there. I'm curious how you have your summer set up, because it sounds like you trained for Nolans for about 5 weeks before you actually ran the course. So have you been dirt bagging it for a while? Are you tent camping? Do you have a truck out there? What are you doing?
No, I have my OG Volkswagen Golf sports wagon, baby blue.
Nice.
The roof rack.
Beautiful.
It's I think it's been recalled several times and they don't make it anymore. But it was actually kind of a bad choice, just because I should have well, with my dad's help, upgraded to the alt track, I think it's called, has like an inch higher clearance. The clearance has been an issue.
Yep.
Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
But yeah, that's my rig, and I have a tent and just a 2-person tent and yoga mat, some blankets, and then I use my clothes as my pillow, and I have a cooler, a Yeti cooler.
Yep.
Just my big luxury.
So you're traveling light.
I guess so, yeah. Bunch of shoes. Trunk of shoes. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm guessing most of the camping this year has been around Leadville, BV, because you've been training for Nolans, scouting Nolans. I'm guessing you've been fairly familiar with the route because you've been in Colorado off and on for a while, and I'm guessing you've hiked those 14ers. But yeah, I'm just picturing your summer, and I'm kind of jealous. Just living in a tent, scouting Nolans, and then going out and just blowing up the FKT. I mean, that to me is a summer to be jealous of. It sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it has been good. I especially like in the mountains, you know, that like first half of June when no one else is there, and especially this year it was pretty cold and snowy, and you know, it's like yeah, hanging out in BV is like how BV used to be before all the like Rivian showed up.
Yep, totally.
Um, so, but yeah, no, yeah, so I got familiar with the route that first year I was here. I mean, not the route really, but some of the peaks. And then, Colorado Springs is in the same area. It's like, it's not too far. So I did come out a few times, during the school year, and then, I ended up, so Alex Nichols, got the supported record in 2018.
Right.
And so he coached his cross country, at Colorado College. And so I got to know him in 2016 as like the young ultra guy, I guess, on the team. Who was, again, yeah, I was running some, I would like do practice and then do doubles on trails and just run like 4 hours in the evenings after class and stuff. But so he went for it supported, and there weren't many people around, or that year, or basically he didn't have much help. And so I offered to jog and aid at Pine Creek, like halfway through ish.
Yep.
And so so he started it in the evening, had his first day, then he came off Harvard at sunset, and I met him for the second night, going up Oxford.
Got it.
So we went up Oxford together, and I didn't really have a plan of like how I was gonna do this. Like, he didn't really indicate like, he wanted snacks at Pine Creek, but that was basically as far as, at least that's how I remember, like the support he wanted. So I guess I should have bailed. Basically, both our phones were dead. Our watches were dead. I didn't really know the area that well. I didn't know where my car was exactly. Like, I'd never run on Pine Creek before. And,
oh yeah.
And so in the end, I just accompanied him for the entire second half.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, almost all of it. We went down Elbert, like, yeah, I guess in the morning, mid-morning, and then we met Megan Hicks at the base of Massive, and they promptly, he was there with like a Coke and some other calories, and Alex and Megan promptly dropped me like really bad. They dropped me extremely hard, and
on the last peak.
On the last peak, yeah, and of course that was fine with me. I didn't, and just witnessing Alex be able to turn it on after, like, for in his 44th hour or something, after so much struggle that second night, it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. Like, still to this day, I'm still kind of like shocked how, because he was flying up there and down. Basically, though, I'd never been to the fish hatchery or run down there before, and so and yeah, obviously I didn't have a GPX, and somehow I made my way down to the fish hatchery with like very few mistakes, just completely on site. Like,
nice.
That was also like a miracle. I couldn't believe that either. But basically, after that experience, like the following week, I started linking up Nolans. So this was 2018, and I just did all these. I started projecting the line and trying to figure out alternative routes, and just having a ton of fun. And I did that, 2018, 2019. And then I was kind of left Colorado in 2020, but Nolans was always in the back of my mind as something I would go back to at some point.
So you kind of studied the route for a couple of years there, and then took a couple of year break, and now you're back this summer, just kind of checking it out for the first time in a couple of years, or had you made trips back to the line?
No, just I don't know. I really love camping in this area, and so I sort of just, I couldn't get out of my head, and I was like, just for quite a while now. And this summer, so I got my master's degree in June, and I knew that was gonna be the case, and so over the winter, I just decided I'd drive over and give it a go myself, and do this whole camping thing and just enjoy it. And And yeah, I'm really happy that I pulled it off. It's kind of like almost everything has gone, perfect. And it's just been a great, it's been a great summer so far. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. Did you have your eyes set on this FKT all along, or did you just want to complete the line? I'm guessing you were familiar with Joey Camp's time and probably did a lot of studying. I just wanted to see where you're at with all that.
Yeah, I followed Joey's attempts pretty closely in 2020, and read his blog about it and listened to the podcast. And I didn't think there was, it was so, and I'm not alone in this camp. I think everyone felt similarly. It was just like so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And his sort of entire approach was so just mind boggling that I definitely didn't think I would be able to break the record that year. I didn't imagine I could be strong enough or sort of like dumb enough to try it even, and until who knows, like 10 years later. But I done quite, I've done a good bit of running in the interim, and I just had got that confidence and felt really strong and felt like I could really commit to it, in a way at least rivaling Joey's commitment, not matching it, because
sure.
Unsupported is a whole different beast.
Yeah.
But I also thought like, hey, over the winter, I thought like, hey, I know a fair few people in Colorado at this point, strong runners. Like it'd be really fun to do it supported and have a bit of a party out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I had imagined. And I got a whole group chat together and a bunch, quite a good team who said they'd come out, and I chose the 14th or 13th. No, yeah, 14th, I guess, of July. It was the best weather window, and I was tapered and all that. And turns out everyone bailed to go to Hard Rock, like almost, So I had three people, like three people to support with aid, and then including Nikki LaRochelle, 4 people to kind of help me out there. So I did it like
kind of a big job for 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, well, luckily Jack was my crew chief. Jack Kunzel was my crew chief, and he executed perfectly and had me eat more than I wanted and all that stuff. And yeah, he definitely came through in a huge way. But yeah, so I kind of did it halfway supported and halfway not, which
sure.
Was actually probably, in retrospect, I'm not saying it would have gone, like I could have gone faster, I'm sure, with more support, but I'm not unhappy at all about just like the style and, just the experience I thought was really great, going through the night by myself basically and starting by myself. It was good. So
you didn't have a pacer with you while you went through the night?
No, I met Sean Van Horn on the top of Oxford. He came up from the Vicksburg Winfield side, and just with some night kit, and we ran the ridge to Belford together. And then after that, I did I did Missouri and Huron and La Plata by myself. So
wow. And then you did have a pacer as support for Albert Massive?
Yeah, so then Jack ended up just running with me for Alberta Massive, and then Nikki met us on Massive and ran down with us.
Nice. That is very impressive. Not only that you pulled off this time, but that you did it on your own. That's crazy, man. You started on the 14th. What time did you start the clock? Was it in the middle of the night, beginning of the morning, sunrise? What time was it?
It was 4:30.
Yeah, 4:30 a.m. Okay, got it. Okay. And
yeah, and actually it was so I camped 5 weeks beneath the route, and then did a 10-day taper and spent the last 3 days, the week leading up at a motel in Leadville just to get organized and be, Wi-Fi and everything. And since everyone bailed, like on that Monday, I was messaging like dozens of people. Like I spent the entire week trying to get more crew, and it was kind of stressful, not ideal. And then of course it took me way long. I'm not the most organized person. It took me forever to get all my shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove down Thursday night and camped at Blank's cabin. And honestly, like in my VW, that road up there might have been the harrowing the drive.
Oh yeah, that
I
road's
was getting
pretty bumpy.
I was getting adrenaline at like 7:38 p.m. the night before, just driving. So then I got like 4 to 5 hours of sleep that night, Thursday night.
Oh, come on. That's not enough.
Yeah, it was, it worked out,
It
but
worked,
no, not ideal.
Sure. Yeah. I'm always curious about little details. Did you eat breakfast before you took off?
No, no, I just rolled out of bed, and it took me a little, I meant to go at 4, so it took me a little while to wake up, but it was, I wasn't worried just because everyone was telling me to go easier than you think,
Sure.
or than you think you should, and 4:30 I was basically still asleep and just kept it real easy the first climb.
Okay.
And was able to eat perfectly, eat on the top of Chavano and keep it up.
Yep.
After that. So
got it.
Yeah, I kind of like skipping breakfast before a race because I don't find that I need an extra glycogen boost the morning of, like the night before takes care of it. And then I just feel steadier energy, and then eat about, an hour and a half in. It's
got it.
Tends to work. Yeah.
And what are you typically fueling with?
So I had a whole array, but primarily I had some waffles. I had some dried fruit bars from Colorado company called it's Enduro Bites. Enduro Bites. Those are really good. Mm-hmm. Some Spring Energy, the yellow ones with the caffeine in there. Let's see. I had bananas and blueberries, olives. Olives kind of like my little salt bites. There are a few other things. Different bars and stuff. I don't really remember.
Yeah. Okay. And the first 3 peaks, is that pretty standard for you? Did it go pretty normal? Did you have aid on the other side of Antero?
Yeah. The first, it went well. It was a really hot period, that week. As like everyone at Hard Rock experienced, but, by the time I got up to the top of Antero, it was baking. It was crazy hot actually. But the whole, I executed well, just really steady and coming off, Tabawatch, that's a kind of a gnarly descent there.
Yep.
But after that, I wasn't feeling like poppy or anything, and a few like little niggles came up, which was kind of interesting because I never really experienced that before. But I think it was just psychological, just knowing I had so much further to go. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so then coming off Antero, I met Henry Harris, who is a really strong runner, lives in Salida. So it's pretty local for him. And so I got aid after Antero from him, and then went on Princeton. But yeah, I didn't take enough, I don't think. because I ran out pretty hard on Princeton, and Princeton's the most exposed, biggest peak, especially with that ridge line, which is a solid like mile above 14K.
Yep.
And then the descent takes forever, totally exposed. So I actually, I ran out pretty hard, just, got really dehydrated and a little behind on calories on Princeton, which I was a little nervous about. I mean, I was pretty nervous about.
Right. You're only on peak 4 and you're running out of calories. That's not a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just, I mean, it was so hot, man. It was, and the Colorado Trail was even hotter because it's below 10K there. And just like, it is like a convection system with the red dirt, and it's not very sparsely. I mean, it's pretty sparsely forested, and that's quite a few miles on the CT there.
Yep.
But I met Henry again at, after Princeton, between Princeton and Avalanche Trailhead, and him and Jack resuscitated me. And going up Yale was a little rough, but I just took some extra time and ate some extra calories, just down like several bottles.
Yeah.
Quite a few. And that was really the only like sort of sketchy part in terms of, I didn't let myself spiral. Like I really didn't get too nervous. But yeah, that was the only sort of part was like, this could end here. And yeah.
Did you say that you took the standard ridge off of Princeton and then down to the Colorado Trail?
Yeah. I messed up my descent slightly there. I didn't take the exact chute that I wanted. And I mean, they're all bad. All the options are really bad, but I think mine was, I think even Joey mentioned afterwards, looking at my GPX data, it's like you went down, I think he called it the head wall or something. It was a scramble for sure.
Okay.
But it was, whatever, maybe it cost a couple of minutes. I wasn't too bummed about it. Sure. I didn't, I used Joey's GPX in training mostly.
Okay.
And then created my own line section by section. I think I had 6 sections or 7 altogether. Different GPX files, which is also a good way to rationalize it, or at least I found. And I created those based off of my own personal heat maps over the years. And that was successful. The only problem was just that I did upgrade my watch, but for the battery life, but and the breadcrumb was helpful. I'm like very experienced using the breadcrumb, but it definitely has limitations in that, like, okay, you could see the topo, but on Princeton's, for instance, you can't necessarily see the little ridge in between the 2 lines that's only separated by like 30 feet.
Sure.
So it's really easy to and you don't really want to be staring at your, zooming in and out on your little watch the whole time. So I mostly ran by memory in the end. And that only really bit me on the final descent off massive, because while I tried to hit everything in training, I did not manage to do that descent without snow. I just ran out of time basically. And so I was tired enough by the time I got to massive, and that following the little breadcrumb wasn't really effective. And long story short, route went like 95% well, but there are a few little hiccups there, and Princeton was kind of one of them.
Yeah. That just excites me to think about how this could actually be faster. You could take some time off of this. That's pretty badass.
There's a few things. There was a few gear issues I had with my feet too, where that cost me quite a bit of time, and it was just like an oversight on my part. And basically, if I had like one more pair of shoes, I probably would have saved like an hour and a half.
Really?
Like, no joke. I mean, at least at the time, because I was kind of in some pain with my feet. That's what I thought. I mean, it's hard to know. There's so many like variables layered on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and maybe just like some different socks. I was like, I didn't really think about it hard enough to be prepared on that sense. But there's so many things that you have to prepare for. I felt like I really did so many things right and avoided so many issues. But yeah, you know, once you start having a little issue like that, you can end up you know, bleeding so much time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you were experiencing like blisters or something, and that slowed you down. You think you could have saved some time there?
I just had a bit of irritation, and then I kind of got like trench foot actually during the night.
Okay.
Which was, yeah, I just didn't really, I wasn't really prepared for it. And it was just painful enough that it limited my stride,
Yep.
especially on the downhill. So like you're going down Huron, and La Plata, I imagined that I would really send it. And instead I was like babying my feet because it was really painful. But luckily, after La Plata, I changed into a different pair of shoes, and Jack lent me his his toe socks.
Yep.
Actually, I still have them, so he might not want them back, but maybe I can Venmo him for some Injinjis.
Did those things help?
They helped a lot. Yeah, I think just some combo of the volume changing and the material being better on the socks, you know, being drier, and then just having more sunlight to dry, you know, burn things off.
Mm-hmm.
It worked, and I was basically in good shape for the last, you know, they're 2 peaks, but it's like
but they're
you know,
huge.
it's like they're huge.
Yeah. Okay. I'm curious which route you went up Yale.
I went up the Basin, so the off
Basin. Okay.
trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you take the Colorado Trail for a while and then cut left and then take that Basin up. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So my favorite campsite is that Harvard Lakes campsite there.
Oh yeah.
In between Columbia and Yale. It just, yeah, it's convenient to BV. It's like 15 minutes, and it's just really quiet and everything.
Yeah, I was just up there a week ago. It's beautiful up there.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And so I have my little site that I that's where I camp the most at, and just knowing how tricky Yale is, especially this descent, you know, tons of people just, it's so easy if you kind of take the wrong line in Airplane Gully.
Mm-hmm.
It can cost you like an hour.
Yeah.
And that's happened quite a few times to people who've given it a go in the past, you know, really strong runners. So I was projecting Yale quite a lot. I ran it, I don't know, definitely over 5 times, but maybe probably like 7. And mostly the descent, which I was really sketched out by when it was so snowy. That was like my barometer for when I could even attempt Nolans, was if the airplane gully was dry enough to go, because it's so steep and you're bushwhacking that the snow was like, you know, you're off these insane gradients going down snow through the trees. It's like really not fun.
Yeah.
When it's dry, it's surprisingly, you know, it's surprisingly runnable. But anyway, so that's just to say that yeah, I had a lot of opportunities to project Yale, and yeah, so you go up like 2 miles up the CT and then hang a left through the forest there, which is a pretty it's pretty dry and thin there, so no big deal. And then you go up this, like, it's maybe the coolest part of the route. I mean, there's a lot of cool parts, but just that basin is so like immense and rocky, and you know, but you can see the summit the whole time, so it's pretty epic.
Yeah. And you had pretty good luck nailing the route on the way down from Yale and catching that airplane gully. Yep.
Yeah.
You've done it
No
enough
issue at
times.
all.
Good.
Yeah.
Between Columbia and Harvard, do you drop all the way down into that basin?
I did. Yeah. I never actually went on I've never done the scramble traverse.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, but it was too snowy. There's too many like cornices in training, and then I just didn't want to mess with it, like having never been on it. And plus, there's this creek, this little waterfall off Harvard, off the Harvard south face, that I've stopped at every single time I go up there.
Mm.
And so almost like superstitiously, I should say Henry Harris joined me for Yale, Columbia, Harvard.
Okay.
So that was really helpful too. But yeah, so I stopped at that creek, which, added like 1,200 feet of climbing versus the ridge, but I was, it was definitely worth it for the water.
Mhm.
And I was comfortable with going down that way. So
Yep.
yeah.
Good. And you must have had some sort of aid at Pine Creek, and your buddy that was pacing, you must have ran out there.
Yeah, so Henry ran out Pine Creek, left me with some snacks, and then I hiked up Oxford alone, and then saw at about about 10 maybe. Yeah, probably about 10. And then I hiked up Oxford and met Sean Van Horn on the top of Oxford for just an extra headlamp. And it wasn't very cold. It was interesting. It was colder by the creeks in the valleys than up high, which was sort of surprising. But I got some extra layers and headlamp and food from Sean. Yeah,
Okay.
so that was sort of the next step.
Okay. And we've got what is it? Oxford, Missouri. Trying to think what's after that. Are we down to Closey Lake already?
So Oxford, Belford, which
Oxford, Belford. Yep.
the easiest little tick off the box.
Yep. Those are easy
And
numbers.
then yeah, and then Missouri East Ridge. I really love that ridge.
Me too.
It's kind of there's a couple scrambles in there.
Yep.
And it took me some extra time there just because it was hard to find which vein of the sort of cliff to go up in the dark.
Oh, sure.
And again, I thought I could use the little breadcrumb better, but it was just like, okay, it doesn't tell you which side of the ridge you're supposed to be on. So I was kind of like, I had to backtrack a couple times, but generally it was good. And then you do the scree descent off Missouri to Closey Lake. I took a sec in the willows there, just to refuel. Sort of like I don't know, that's like 2 a.m. And then went down Closey Lake and then up Huron, which was the crux of the whole route actually this year because of the snow.
Oh, really? Okay. Did you have any aid at Closey?
No, I didn't have any aid.
Got it. Okay. So straight up Huron. Okay. So there's a lot of snow up there this year.
There was it was so snowy that in training the basin was completely like 85% snowed in whole climb.
Yeah. Okay.
So I did it a couple times in training and I was posting the whole time. And it's like ridiculously steep. I mean, not it's like 40-45%.
It's gnarly.
Yeah. It's like hard enough as it is. And then the snow. So what I was really worried about is, so it was snowy in like end of June, but then it was really hot for those first 2 weeks of July or so. And everything got super compacted. And I wasn't able to go see what Huron was like because it's so hidden there, the east side. So I couldn't get binoculars on it. It was a little too far to do in the taper to sort of scout it out. And so I was just worried that it would just be just this ice sheet, all the way up.
So this
And
has
it
been in the back of
basically-
your head throughout the route, like Huron might suck, or this might blow the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought like, okay, worst case scenario, I have to like go around up the northeast ridge or do some weird, which extra maneuvers. But by the time I got there, it was still an ice. Yeah, it was super icy. Some of it had melted off the top. So the whole thing wasn't iced over, but luckily someone had booted in like most of it. Was kind of like a weird zigzag. I don't know. But yeah, someone had booted in a trek like a day or two before when it was softer. And so it stayed like pretty well kicked in by the time I got there. And so I was kind of able to follow his tracks almost all the way up. And it wasn't it was a little, I was still kind of like sweating there just because I didn't like, also it's hard to see, I wasn't able to see too much further up. So I kept thinking like, oh no, I might get cliffed out. I mean, not cliffed out, but like I might not be able, I might follow these tracks and then I'll just be like on the ice field.
Right. Just
have nowhere to
stuck.
go.
Yeah.
And then the prospect of going down that was terrifying. Like there's no way to back, if I backtracked, I would have slid down. It was, so I got really lucky with whoever, thank you to whoever kicked that in.
Yeah, it's your angel, man.
Yeah.
Are you using any extra gear at this point? Are you putting on micro spikes? Do you have an axe or anything with you, or are you just going for it?
Sean, I got my crampons from Sean.
Okay.
I think I only got, so I had like, I like the BD crampons. They have a toe cap one, which I'm not sure if they sell anymore, just for like ascents, and then more of a full on sort of, I guess that's like 5mm spikes. And I think I had him give me the toe cap one, which especially meant going downhill was not an option.
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't actually use it. Somehow the combo between my shoes grip and the ice and whatever, I didn't really need them.
Didn't need them. Okay. Well, got lucky there.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I put my gloves on and my poles worked well enough. So. Yeah.
And how are you feeling at this point? I mean, you've got 3 big peaks left. I'm sure you're looking at your watch and crunching numbers. Are you feeling confident? Are you running scared? Are you physically exhausted? Where's your head at?
I was sort of aware of splits during the first day and then totally forgot about it during the night. I just didn't think about it once. I just, at that point I was just like, well, whatever is the most efficient, however fast I'm moving right now is how fast I'm moving. That's all.
Yeah.
And so I took a sit, like I mentioned, coming off Missouri for a little bit, and I probably stopped just for a sec here and there during the night too, but I didn't worry about it. I was in the zone and pretty chill. I mean, really the whole time, but especially during the night. Huron, so I went up Huron, like had all that adrenaline from the icy climb, and then that was like 3 a.m. Summited it at maybe 4:30, and it was pretty cold at that point, just the witching hour. And I guess that was a bit of a low spot, just because I was moving slow. I was kind of like like I was kind of wired from the climb, and then I started getting the hiccups above 13K at some point, and that was plaguing me. It's like pretty unpleasant.
Yeah.
but getting the sunrise, like sort of the first bits of sunrise at the top of Huron was just incredible. Like it was so cool. I mean, the sky's like all orange and like the colors are incredible, and the clouds are, there was a bit of an inversion, and no one else is up there yet. It was great. It was so epic. And then going down Huron, it was I got plenty of energy. So yeah, it
nice.
wasn't an issue.
Nice. I know you've run a bunch of ultras in the past. Have you done the 100-mile distance?
Yeah. So my only 100-mile, I started UTMB last year and did it just a shitload of training leading up. Like I was living in the Yale the whole summer just because the rent was so much cheaper, talking about mountain towns. And I was I got an elite slot for UTMB and Marathon de Mont Blanc. And so I just figured I'd fly out once, avoid the whole, Russia Ukraine conflict airfare situation, hike. And so yeah, I was training a ton, and I got some sort of weird like neuromuscular injury during UTMB, but I also had a rough race at Ultra Trail of Snowdonia in mid-May this year. But I got third in the end, so that's why I'm going to UTMB. But that's a gnarly race. Like it might be, I know Ultra Trail Tour Monte Rosa is back, and that's pretty tricky, but I mean, Snowdonia, a lot of it is off trail. It's boggy. There's several scrambly sections, not just up but down, like class 3, 4 even. And it's, a full loop, no doubling back. I highly recommend it. Like if you're looking for like a legit sanctioned, incredibly gnarly course. Actually, Sabrina Stanley was also there. She got, I think, second. And we've had virtually the same calendar the last couple of years. So I've run into her a handful of times and was able to pick her brain a little on Nolans. And she was like, yeah, this is basically like a slightly condensed Nolans. So you could say, 8 weeks before it was like a great Nolan's training stimulus. But yeah, so that was my only full 100-mile finish, but I had done several races that ran through the night, and some longer one, like Harikana, for instance, in Canada. Yeah. So, and I've run through the night a few, several times, and pulled my fair share of all-nighters.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crewing other people. Yeah.
Well, and just studying and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. So do you do pretty well with sleep deprivation?
Yeah.
You feel like that's one of your strengths?
I mean, yeah, altitude, sleep deprivation, strong stomach.
Okay.
If that's what it takes to do Nolans, I got those covered pretty well.
It does. That's pretty clutch. Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm guessing you had Aiden Winfield before La Plata.
Yeah, well, Jack parked his truck at the CT intersection there at Winfield, and but he was still asleep when I got there. I was actually like banging on the windows because I was trying to get some help with my feet, but he was sound asleep. So I just grabbed some stuff from his cab and and made my way.
Okay.
And went on.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got aid, but it wasn't like, it was felt a sort of self-supported fashion there, I guess.
Sure. Okay.
But and then by the time I went up La Plata, the entire universe is up there. It was ridiculous.
Oh.
Saturday morning.
Busy Saturday. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
How much time are you taking on the top of these peaks? I'm guessing it's pretty damn short.
Yeah, I'm not trying to stop on the top. No,
Sure.
That's a bad idea.
Yep. No stop.
I think I took a sit on Huron for like a minute, but I didn't stop anywhere else.
Okay. Got it. Okay. La Plata, it's huge, obviously. And then you just have two more huge peaks. at this point you have a pacer, yes, for the last 2 peaks?
Yeah. So so
Jack
he,
Rally.
yeah, he saw me at La Plata Trailhead, and then parked at that turnoff there by going up Bull Hill, and then
Yep.
just joined me. It was
Okay.
great. It was
Okay.
it was I mean, I definitely couldn't have done it. I mean, I couldn't have done it without Henry and Sean either, that's for sure. But Jack was, yeah, he's a great guy, and just like, you know, just kept things so lively. It was great. We just chatted along, and yeah, it just, he basically, just him being there on the last 2 bit. I mean, it was just a huge performance boost for sure, but just also, psychologically, mentally, it totally clutch.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any other secret tips or tricks or anything that you use? People will stop drinking caffeine for a month before the race and then incorporate it halfway through. Or I don't know. I think you mentioned a yoga mat. Do you do a lot of yoga, or I'm like, what do you eat for breakfast, David? That's what I want to know, because that's going to make me finish Nolan someday.
Yeah. Well, okay. So some tips and tricks on the route itself. I wore glasses the whole time and had clear visors during the night. And that was super deliberate because Alex himself had some really bad eye issues, but a lot of people, just dusty and exposed and windy. And
Okay.
so that is a must do for sure for anyone going after it.
Got it.
Yeah, just protect your eye. I mean, I wear contacts as well, so I didn't want to have to mess with those. And there's the famous Courtney story, who, I don't know, a while ago, had some cornea issues, I think, or contact issues at one of the 200 milers. So anyways, yeah, I recommend that, and just like good coverage, for the wind.
Okay.
I had a sun hat, which was incredibly helpful, like a bucket hat sort of thing, but with wide brim.
Okay.
And and you can dunk that in water, and it gets a good bit, saturates pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wore gaiters, but they got ripped up like halfway through, so I had the ultimate direction gaiters, and they helped for the first half, and then they just were destroyed. So I mean, basically the straps broke on both of them. And I mean, and that leads to foot. I guess I could have had another pair, but like, I don't know. It's at a certain point, these things are just like kind of a waste of money.
Sure.
They're not cheap, and that was the second time I used it. So anyways, but yeah, it just shows, I mean, the terrain, it's like just the being off trail, the scree, the rock, and just the quality of the rocks. I'm no geologist, but I've destroyed so many shoes out there in the past, and just, outsoles get destroyed, uppers get slashed. Yeah, it's like a graveyard for shoes. And I'm supported by Norda. It's a small company.
Okay.
And they make just really high quality shoes. Like the upper, like that's kind of their thing, is just that they use really high quality materials. And so I had 2 pairs of Nordis for this sort of like June in the attempt. And I should have asked for another, I guess, but just as what I mentioned before. But the upper has, doesn't slash at all on those. And the foam is really nice, so your feet stay just, they don't cramp up or anything on the off trail, or mine don't. So yeah, a good pair of shoes like that obviously is going to come in handy. And then in terms of what I eat for breakfast, I mean, I guess I do some like controversial, unconventional things, sort of in the vein, like I mean, I don't feel, it's not like cool to talk about these things anymore, I guess, because the like minimal, the minimalist era is behind us, and now
Sure.
the sport's more concerned with health. But Joey mentioned it, his intermittent fasting and his sort of like power to weight considerations. So I guess I can, so basically I do almost all my training fasted and just
Okay.
have always done that,
Sure.
including these really long days. And I don't fuel in training really, like at all. I mean, I will during specific, like last year training for UTMB, I was trying to kind of dial in that fairly fast race pace where you're, at least you're supposed to be burning some glycogen, and so you got to keep it topped off. And
Yep.
So I practiced then, but that was really the only time in my entire running career where I deliberately fueled in training.
Okay.
Basically last year. So I guess if you put me on the treadmill or in the lab, I'd be, I guess, pretty efficient. I probably don't burn that many calories, and I definitely don't burn that much carbs.
Yeah, you're probably burning more fat than anything.
Yeah. I mean, sorry to all the whatever coaches and folks listening to this, but it's just, that's how I've done it. And that's, so.
If it's working for you, David, don't change it. You're setting FKTs on Nolans. You don't need to change your diet, man.
Yeah. I mean, and part of it, honest, I get to be more detailed. Like I actually suffer from reactive hypoglycemia pretty bad. So I don't eat within 3 hours of training just at all, because I'm the sort of runner who, if I do, I'll bonk like immediately, and then it'll just be a horrible run.
Oh, really?
And that includes if I'm going like at a low intensity, Nolan's effort. If I have like a gel, even the fancy maltodextrin ones, I bonk. Or I get kind of messed up. It's really unfortunate. I wish I didn't experience that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I have to be running like fairly hard just to be able to deal with the gel. Otherwise, it's completely counterproductive for me.
Yeah. Okay. So did you even use gels on Nolans?
No,
No
I
gels.
didn't use any. I mean, so I didn't do like completely whole foods, but it sort of, I did like halfway between. Basically, I try to have carbs with a little something extra to keep it slow. So, I had baby food too. I didn't mention that. I mean, I didn't have a kitchen access, so otherwise I would have made like sweet potato something or other. Yeah. But I just had the baby food version of that. So like sweet potatoes and bananas are pretty ideal.
Yep.
For me, just like that slow burning. And then just something with some extra fat and protein to just help it.
Sure.
Help it. Yeah. So that's
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then basically, like during Nolan's training, I'm doing, I'm out like almost all day.
Sure.
And then I'll just eat all afternoon, all afternoon.
Yep.
It's a little gross, but that's basically what I do.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the intermittent fasting life. You're taking a big window where you're not eating, and then you have like a good, whatever it is, 2 to 4 hours where that's what you're doing. You're fueling, you're eating for almost that whole time.
Yeah. And I mean, and then this summer too, it's like, okay, I was camping. I don't really have a good kitchen setup, and I'd have to get some Wi-Fi. So I just go to town and just like sit in a cafe and just like get a bunch of breakfast burritos and just,
right.
Whatever.
At what point did you know that you had the record locked up?
Well, Jack was pretty aware of splits. Okay. So when I saw him at the base of Elbert, he knew where I was relative to Joey, and he knew what Joey was splitting for the last two, which was incredibly impressive. And so, yeah, I guess, it was funny because I put together a spreadsheet with sort of a blueprint for aid and just my estimated splits, just to kind of like wrap my head around it, and also give my crew a bit of a, something to follow. And like by the time I got to what my splits would be a half moon, it was between like I think it was between 11 a.m. and like 7 p.m. You know, just like crazy because it was just okay because it was like each sort of section could be this huge spread just depending on what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So like if everything I thought, you know, like physiologically, I think I would be capable of like running 32 or something. So that was like my most, but basically my realistic ABC goal were, it was sort of just like a number to that seemed appropriate, but it was also kind of based on splits. But my A goal was about 38 hours, B 40 and C 41. Which was, you know, so if I did like 40:59, that would break the overall
Sure.
time. And so but yeah, by the second day I was kind of mentally tired enough to not really again, I mean going up Elbert, like I was moving, but I wasn't bothered by splits. I was just like, as long as I keep moving, that's
Yep.
and then massive, I was able to put the hammer down just a little. Just because you know I still had some running legs left, and ate enough to be able to climb well up massive, and just it was a beautiful day, and you know having the finish line sort of in sight gives you that boost.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I was shooting for 38 somewhere in my mind, like on the Plata, but didn't really know. And in the end, I just wanted to finish by like 7:30. I think no, I wanted to finish by
8
or
p.m.
no, I wanted to finish by 8:30, which would have been 40 hours. It just sounded good.
Okay.
You know,
Gotcha.
sun still, you get some sunlight. So 8:30, and then I end up finishing at 7:30.
Okay.
So that was good, you know. Yeah. So that's how I thought about it, at least.
How hard were you pushing going down massive?
Uh, I mean, I was running like 10-minute pace, which felt like I was flying.
Of course. Yeah. It feels like 6-minute
I mean,
pace.
on the trail section there, yeah. But
Yeah.
going down the off trail bits, I was sort of, you know, I was so like neuromuscularly fatigued that some of the techie bits at that point, I was kind of had to walk it,
Yeah.
more or less.
Sure.
But once I got to the grass, I was able to move, and I was just chatting with Nikki La Rochelle and then Jack. Jack was sort of navigating for us till we got to the trail. Well, I mean, off the ridge, I kind of remembered where I was, but there's kind of like two ridges you have to sort of go over.
Yep.
And I just didn't really, yeah. But yeah, so I was going about 10-minute pace, and that trail section is just like deceptively long. Like it's 4 miles or something.
Yeah.
Feels like forever.
Uh-huh.
And so I was able to keep the pace up, but there was like a few moments where I was just like overwhelmed by you know, I was able to keep jogging, but I was just like, oh man, you know, my throat was really hurting. Like my tongue was hurting. Like I was like a sun-dried tomato at that point, just like yeah. And I was like, I mean, at that point for quite a while, I was just drinking so much, as humanly as I could. Like that was available. I was just drinking all of it. And so I just had bottles in both hands. It's like chugging away just to get to the finish. Yeah, but it was so nice to have company, and it was a nice, you know, it was a nice evening. It wasn't too hot, and yeah. And then so I finished and with Nikki and Jack, and there was Nikki's mom. And that's who greeted us there. She was you know, not in running clothes or anything. It was pretty funny. She was like a little bit concerned on about our state, but it was nice.
Oh,
no
I'm
one
sure.
else was there.
Did you celebrate? Did you do anything afterwards at Fish Hatchery? Hang out for a little while, or did you just crash?
I sat there. We sat there for a bit. Nikki's mom brought us some more blueberry, a resupply of blueberries, like a whole 18-ounce clamshell. Snacked on those, like some various other things. But yeah, I kind of crashed. I had to sit down, and I actually lay down, and then got the shivers, and then got the cramps, and then got the shivers again. Yeah, I mean, if no one was there with the car, like, and Jack and I had to figure out how to hitch back, it would have been awful. It would have been really bad.
You would have been in trouble.
Yeah, shit out of luck, that's for sure. But so yeah, we got a ride from Nikki's mom, and then Jack and I each had a pizza at the mountain pie place here.
Nice.
What's it? High Mountain Pies, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind that you did this and with only one night under your belt. It takes most people 2 nights, and you're able to do it in one night and then still make it down to High Mountain Pie for pizza. That's just incredible. It's just the ultimate. Yeah. And now you're training for UTMB, man. You're going to go back and give it another shot. That's it. That's exciting, dude.
Yeah, my body kind of just started coming around like a couple days ago. So I'd say it took about 3 weeks to get like above 90% back. I mean, is it a smart idea? No, but it's kind of hard to get that elite spot nowadays, because you have to go like do well at 100-mile rates of their in their calendar, and it's sort of a pain in the ass. And so I had the thing. I'm not working yet.
Take advantage of it while you can.
I figured it'd be pretty badass to go rock up after Nolan's.
Totally.
Of course, not that I'm anyone in the same conversation at all, but Courtney has obviously overshadowed any of that badassery with whatever triple crazy stuff she's doing.
Right.
But yeah, so I'll go back to UTMB, and I'm training, less than it's actually pretty nice, because, I kind of got the volume done, and now
you're trained up.
Now I'm just trying to feel good and just have fun, and yeah.
Good. Well, best of luck at UTMB. Thanks for coming on and doing this show, man. Like I said, I geek out all things Nolans, and I like all the little details, and I like hearing everything. So congratulations, man. 39:06 is it just blows my mind. I'm not going to lie. It blows my mind, and very impressive. And congrats, man. Just enjoy it the rest of the summer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I look forward to seeing whichever other crazy idiot is going to try to break that. But I mean, I guess the last thing I'd say is just, I was so like, it was such a special day, and I was so mentally in it, because it's kind of like what originally got me stoked on trail running in the first place, all back. So it was like really cathartic. Like, it was like really emotional, and just like a really special, I put so much time and effort into it, not just the summer, and all the planning and training. I felt like my entire running career in some ways has just been leading up to this. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to think about like what I could ever do to like what will motivate me further for next, future years. But I just think Nolan's is just like a really special, just incredible, project for anyone to try, and FKT if you're really after it.
Well, it sounds like you had some luck on your side too. I mean, we didn't get too into the weather, but it sounded like you had a decent weather window, and you had ups and downs, obviously, but things kind of went your way as well. So, and so with something as big as Nolan's, there's a lot of skill involved and a lot of luck involved as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I guess in terms of like karma, maybe I played my hand a little right.
Yeah, there you go. I'm curious, have you reached out to Joey, or did Joey reach out to you afterwards?
Yeah, yeah, and we chatted some in June, before too. So yeah, we've chatted a little bit, but yeah, we don't. I wouldn't say I know him by any means.
Sure. Yeah. 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 No, I think it's just cool that this community usually reaches out and, if someone beats someone else's previous FKT, they usually reach out and congratulate them. And I'm always just curious, like, yeah, just what people are up to behind the scenes. But,
Oh
listen,
yeah,
man.
no, he was congratulatory and just yeah, it was great, and he just loves he loves the area and he loves the line so much. So I think for him to see me, well, and first of all, I was, you know, to me, Joey is the Nolan guy. Like, okay, Megan Hicks, of course, and is like the keeper of the Nolans, and Anne and Andrew Hamilton, but just Joey's whole, like, the way he describes it, the way he's approached it, his entire obsession with it was just like really inspiring. And then obviously his time was the time to beat, and it was crazy. So yeah, tons of credit has to go to Joey. And still, like, I would never be able to do that unsupported, like, not even close.
Sure.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joey deserves. I think he's got the podium. He's on the top of the podium for Nolans in my mind.
Sure. Dude's a king. Well, what you did was
yeah.
pretty miraculous, man. So I'm not trying to take anything away from you. What you did was super stout, dude. And you should be very proud of yourself and yeah, enjoy this little victory for the rest of the summer, man.
All right. Well, thank you.
Absolutely, dude. And thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And maybe I'll see you on the trail sometime.
Of course. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. See ya.
See you, David.